I finally received my ROG Ally. After a painfully excruciating wait, I got this on day 1, pre-ordered and everything. Today we're not going to do like a full review of the ROG Ally because I feel like that's going to take a bit of time to get used to, but I will talk about my first impressions. I will say this box looks totally insane, and I know some people hate the fact that I talk about the unboxing experience as if it's actually important, but the truth is, a premium device demands a premium unboxing experience, and this looks to be the case. Now that we've got those pesky stickers out the way, we can talk about the ROG Ally's contents. As you can see here, this is the star of the show, the ROG Ally. Before we get to the ROG Ally itself, let's talk about everything else that comes inside the box. The first accessory is this stand right here. It's a weird cardboard stand. I'm just gonna say this, I'm not a fan, but I guess it's better than not having a stand in the box. Next up is this charger right here. This is the ROG Ally official charger. It's a fair bit bigger than the Steam Deck's charger, and it's a higher wattage as well. It's one whole integrated unit. The cable is not detachable, unfortunately. I kinda wish it was. That said, I do have a fair number of chargers and charging blocks that can handle the ROG Ally, but if you don't in particular, I would definitely keep this charger. And finally, legal documentation. Now let's get to the star of the show, the ROG Ally itself. First impressions are pretty nice. This is a very beautiful device in almost every aspect. One thing you'll notice immediately is that this device runs Windows 11 out of the box. This is a device made for Windows, meaning in theory, it should be able to play all of your games. You know, kind of like the name suggests. So I do want to talk about the size of the ROG Ally because the ROG Ally is smaller than the Steam Deck, as you can see here. It's noticeably smaller than the Steam Deck. It also weighs less than the Steam Deck as well. But if I had to be honest, it's not really a meaningful difference. It's not that much smaller, nor is it that much lighter. The controls feel quite nice, but I do have some gripes with certain aspects of the controls, namely the D-pad. This is one of those circular D-pads that is very reminiscent of that of the Xbox 360, and has a lot of the same issues I had with the Xbox 360 controller's D-pad. Namely, it's not very precise. The D-pad feels like I'm pressing a diagonal when I'm just pressing one of the 4 cardinal directions, which is unfortunate really. I wish they would have just stuck with the simpler cross-style design like they had with the Steam Deck. The buttons themselves are very functional, though I kinda wish that they were concave instead of flat buttons. I also don't like the font. The X and Y buttons aren't so bad, but the A and B buttons, they're egregiously gamer. Honestly, like the king of gamer fonts, Razer, stopped using gamer fonts like years ago, and I think Asus should have just stuck with a typical button font. Now let's talk about specs. The 3 biggest differences between the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally are A, the lack of trackpads, B, a new APU, and C, a significantly higher resolution, higher refresh rate, and just better color accuracy screen. I do want to evaluate performance later on, but I do want to talk about the screen because the screen is easily way better than the Steam Deck's. You can see at first glance. The 120Hz refresh rate makes things way smoother. Even just moving your mouse in Windows is way smoother. High refresh rates, it's just one of those things you can't really convey properly over a typical video. You just have to go into a Best Buy and then try out the ROG Ally display unit yourself, if you've got one. So there have been reports that early units came with McAfee antivirus software, and I can tell you that my unit did not come with that. It didn't even come with any bloatware aside from the stuff that Microsoft includes, like TikTok. They did, however, include a pack-in game, Moving Out. It's a fun little indie game. I actually own it on Steam already, but if you don't have it already, then hey, free game, right? Aside from that though, it's a relatively clean install of Windows. On the topic of Windows, let's talk about the Windows experience on handheld. Obviously, Windows wasn't made for a controller, it's made for keyboard and mouse. That's why Asus provides you Armoury Crate. Armoury Crate is their premier software. Armoury Crate is required for a lot of the functionality of the ROG Ally. On the onset, it just seems like Asus's front end for the device. Armoury Crate can automatically detect games installed via Steam or the Epic Game Store, or some of the other supported launchers as well. You can also add any application you want as a game itself. For example, these emulators here. You can also modify specific per game settings in Armoury Crate. For example, you can create custom controls per game, though not to the same extent as Steam Input. In fact, this is far more limited compared to Steam Input. There is one clear winner here. this right here. You can set per game configuration for both being on battery and being plugged into the wall. Having separate performance profiles for both being plugged in and being on battery is a godsend, and I think it's something the Steam Deck should definitely implement. You can also change the Ally's RGB as well as the screen color calibration per game as well, which is pretty neat. You can also change launch arguments as well as the name of the game itself and the game's icon. Armory Crate can also manage UWP app updates as well as driver updates. Armory Crate can also quickly download specific launchers. In this case, the Ally comes with Steam and Xbox installed already. Armory Crate also gives you easy access to Windows built-in recording tools. Do keep in mind that Windows built-in recording tool doesn't record the performance overlay, which I will be talking about in a future video. If you want to record that, use a capture card instead. I do have some gripes with Armory Crate. The biggest of which is that you literally cannot install games through Armory Crate. As of right now, it only detects games that you install onto your device. To install more games, you have to tab out of Armory Crate, go into Steam or Epic or whatever, and then install your games that way. There are third-party frontends like Play-Night that can actually install games for you through Steam. I also want to see if Armory Crate can detect Epic games installed through the Heroic Games Launcher, which by the way has a Windows version, and it's way better than the official Epic launcher, so get that instead. So what are my thoughts on my first impressions with the ROG Ally? So yes, you can easily play many games with controller support. And these days, there are a ton of games that do that, but there are a ton of older titles that don't have proper controller support, in genres like RTSs as well. Of course, you cannot ignore the main advantage of a Windows handheld. You can play Windows games that are known to not work on Linux, such as Destiny 2. And truth be told, there's no telling if Bungie will ever support the Steam Deck on SteamOS. I do like the prospect of portable Destiny 2. Is the ROG Ally worth it? I really need some more time to evaluate whether or not it's worth it. Also, here's a bit of a PSA. The latest BIOS update has actually degraded performance up to 33%. So for now, don't update. If you liked this video, be sure to press the thumbs up button and spread the good gospel of high-tech lowlife. And if you want to see more high-tech lowlife, be sure to subscribe and press the bell icon for notifications. And for you enlightened individuals, be sure to join my Discord server. And if you wish to support high-tech lowlife, be sure to check out our Patreon page, links in the description down below.